channel, please go watch my last video so you get to know a little bit more about my website, Essencebymel, along with why I decided to make this channel. So I did an Instagram poll and I asked people, what do you guys want to know? Or like what video you guys would think would be more resourceful? And a lot of you guys said finding apartments in New York City. Now, finding an apartment in New York City is extremely exhausting, and it honestly takes away your energy. I decided to move out with my boyfriend when I was 23 years old. Right after college, I moved back in with my mom, and I went to college in upstate New York. So moving back in with my mom was okay, but I was just stressed out. Like, one, I'm with my sister, I'm with my mom, I'm with my stepdad. There's too many people in this house, and I was just too overwhelmed. I'm like, I can't do this, I need to move out. So I spoke to my boyfriend. I was like, yo, what are we doing? Do you want to move out together? Like, let's figure this out. And that's exactly what we did. But little old me was so thirsty. I was so thirsty to find an apartment that honestly, I went to a broker. We paid a shitload of money, got our apartment, and it was a decent apartment, but it was an old building. Since the building was old, the apartment was huge, but like it was like old appliances, and it was just like I just wasn't happy. It had the little sponge walls, and I wasn't happy. It wasn't something that I wanted to live in. We lived in Riverdale and uptown in the Bronx, and it was just like parking was horrible because we were around so many houses that had their little driveways. So it was like it was so exhausting, and I used to dread going home sometimes because there were days that I had to look for parking for 3 hours. So what I do want to advise you is that if you could wait and take your time for finding an apartment, please do so, because if you pay a broker, that is the quickest way to do so, because brokers have connections, right? They pay supers to not show the apartments to anybody else. For instance, let's say I'm a broker and you come to me and I have 6 buildings where I am close to the super. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit the super off with something, so when other people come and try to see the apartment, the super won't show it. My dog is walling out right now, just ignore that. So basically, I'm gonna hit off the super with money so that the super won't show the apartment to anybody else and will only show it to me. So if that's what you want to do that, because the brokers know people, they have connections, and there's a variety of options. Now the problem is that when I went to a broker, I used to go alone because my boyfriend worked during the day and I worked during the day too, but I used to get out earlier. He used to get out in the nighttime. So I went to this broker and I was just so thirsty. Like, I saw like 3 apartments. I decided on the one I decided on. The apartment was nice, it was big, it was very spacious, and it was a lot of money. We paid $1,700 for a 1-bedroom apartment. Like, I was just like, damn. And it was like, it wasn't that we couldn't afford it, but it was just like, damn, we could be paying less for the same thing. So that's something you want to keep in mind. These brokers, they only get paid, and this isn't me coming at brokers, because there's brokers out there that are awesome. These brokers only get paid if you choose an apartment, and they're not gonna spend a whole month showing you apartments because they want to get paid quickly. And they don't get paid quickly if they out here showing you 10 apartments a day and you're with them for a whole month and you haven't found anything. And that's not something they want to do because it's wasting their time. So my biggest tip is please go to different brokers. Do not just go to one broker. If you're choosing this route, do not just go to one broker. Make sure you go to multiple brokers at a time. This way you can see what this broker is offering you, and then you can see what this broker is offering you, and you can see what this broker is offering you as well. It's going to be exhausting, but it's going to be worth it. Trust me. I am going to insert a video onto this video that shout out to my teaching Zoom skills, because it made it possible, so that you guys could see like what you need to do. The sweater is so itchy, I'm like, I can't take it. So you can see what you need to do when you're looking online on your own for an apartment and you can't afford a broker, or you don't want to go to a broker. All right, so right now I am on Zillow. So when you're here, obviously you want to look at how much money you have, come up with a price that you want to pay monthly,
And then you need a filter here at the bedrooms. So for right now, I put 1500. I think that's reasonable, especially living here in New York City. I put the Bronx as my filter. I don't know whether it says New York City. Let's ignore that. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna start to search through apartments. I'm gonna click on the first one for the sake of this video. Once you click on your option, the one you like, what you need to do is, this is the trick. This is how you find apartments on Zillow. So you're gonna scroll down and then you see where it says listing by listing agent or whatever, or wherever it says whoever posts the apartment, you're gonna contact the number that is listed. So here there's a 347 whatever, and then here there's 718-635. Those are the numbers that you need to contact in order to get information about the apartment. A lot of people on Zillow, what they do is that they request a tour or they request to apply, but that takes forever because a bunch of people are looking at Zillow. They're looking at all of the stuff that people are posting, and you want to be first in line. So for any apartment that you find, you need to scroll down and see if it has that. Also, if it doesn't have it, if it doesn't have the information number, then that's an apartment that you might want to just save for later. Like you see, this one has it too. And a lot of these people who post these are brokers, and brokers are people that you need to watch out for if you don't want to spend extra money. But sometimes it is actual apartment owners or house owners that post here on Zillow just because they're trying to find someone to find apartments from. Well, to rent their apartments to. So that's something that you should all keep in mind. Go to Zillow, and I believe it's the same exact thing for apartments. I'm gonna go to apartments here, and so if you go to apartments.com and you filter your search, once again, I believe is when you scroll down, but I have personally worked more with Zillow, so that's the one that I will recommend. Okay, perfect. So here kind of says it too. So let me just change this price to 1500. Okay, for some reason this isn't working. Okay, 1500. And I'm gonna just let that. Okay, perfect. So you see how down here it says the price. So not, the apartment, the people's contact information. That's what you want to reach out to, because those are the people who are gonna help you find the apartment, and they're gonna tell you from the jump what you need, what they need from you, and that's basically the best way to find apartments here in New York City. There is also I don't know if I'm logged into Facebook here. Oh, but you don't need to be logged into it. I lied. So if you go to the Facebook Market, this one works more with people who wanna rent a room or are trying to find a room to rent. You could go to, they have where is it? Okay, so if you put apartments for rent, all the apartments that they have for rent will pop up. And then these are usually actual people. Like there's a studio for $895 in New York City, Manhattan. That's expensive. You don't want that. But if you feel like you could afford that and that's something you like, then that's what you could do. But yeah, these are all options of things that you could definitely do to find apartments quickly here in New York City.
You gotta go to Zillow, you gotta go to apartments, you gotta go to anything that you find. This strategy works for all of these options. Also, one thing that you should do, like if you really want to find an apartment but you don't want to pay a broker, call, like I don't know if you guys have drove by buildings before and see like now leasing or like now renting. You want to call those numbers and on those buildings. Also Google the buildings that you're interested in, and they usually have a contact information. You could contact that way, and then all you have to pay is an application fee, because when you go to a broker, what they charge you for is for an application fee, which could range from $50 to $200. They charge you the security deposit of the apartment once you find it, and that's usually the 1 month's rent of the apartment. They also charge you 1 month rent. Like for the landlord, they need to know that that first month rent is solidified, And then the broker themselves charge you up to 1 month's rent or 3% of the whole year. All right, so some brokers are nice and they only charge you 1 month's rent. Other brokers, they will tally up the whole amount that you pay a year and charge you a percentage of that. So those are things that you need to keep in mind when you decide to move out, whether it is through a broker or through a loan or whatever. You need to make sure that you have money in your accounts, because these brokers are going to ask for your credit score, and your credit score needs to be at least at a 650. 640, you're kind of dragging it, so make sure that 650, trust me, 6 months paying your card on time or your card payments or whatever helps you significantly. Just, if I were you guys, what credit cards do, they send your information to the bureau 1 to 2 weeks before your payment is actually due. So what you should do is pay your credit cards 1 to 2 weeks in advance. So when they send it out to the bureau, your credit, like, it shows, damn, this person is on it, like they already paid this month. Because what happens is when they send it 2 weeks in advance, you haven't paid because your due date isn't up yet. So it's like, they didn't pay this month, but then it shows up in the next one. So make sure you guys do that. Make sure you pay your credit cards 2 weeks in advance, your car notes 2 weeks in advance, just so that your credit could skyrocket quickly. Because if you do not pay your credit cards, and that's like something that I used to struggle with just because I didn't trust auto payments, but now I do, because one, I have too many things going on. I cannot keep track of all these different days that I need to pay these different credit cards. I need to pay Wi-Fi, rent. There's too many things that come out of my bank account for me to keep track of when I need to pay my credit cards. So one thing that I did was that I wrote everything down on a piece of paper, date, and the date and the amount, and then I did an auto payment, and I keep it in my notes so that I know, okay, this day they're taking this much, this day they're taking this much, this day they're taking that much. So that's a tip that I advise everyone to do. Make sure you do that so it can make your life easier. You don't miss a payment and your credit score does not go down because you have the money but you just simply forgot to pay your card. So when finding an apartment, that is extremely important. They want to see that you have good credit. They want to see that you have money in your bank. They're going to check your bank statements. And I advise for everyone, when you find a new apartment, try to have at least $2,000 extra that don't have anything to do with the apartment, that is just sitting in your account, so they could see that you could have money saved in case of an emergency.